Tom Phan boss battle fight for Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, or Phantom. I thought that was kind of clever. This is one of the easier boss battle fights to get the perfect rating on your first attempt, on just the first playthrough. The unique mechanic for this is that every stage of the boss fight has a couple different, what kind of look like capacitors, charging or powering the spotlight that that Phantom is singing in. And you have to destroy his spotlight to actually do damage to him. Otherwise, he'll just heal fully. Very similar to Rabbid Kong, the first boss fight. The first power source is right there in the middle. You can very easily get it on the first turn. Did I say that you have 9 turns to get the perfect rating on this? And like the other boss fights, every stage there will be a couple new enemies that spawn. For the first and the second stage, obviously it's important to kill the additional enemies before killing the boss, because if you kill the boss and put him to the second stage or the third stage, then you'll be fighting 2 groups of additional enemies in addition to the boss. Now that doesn't mean you can't, like for example, here, the additional enemy was behind the boss and actually too far out of the range for me to actually attack him, so I had to shoot the boss. And actually this is going to work out pretty well, because I think I'm going to be able to damage the boss here, because he's being shielded by the other, by the Valkyrie that is behind him, and just basically channel damage to the Valkyrie, even if I'm out of range of the Valkyrie, or the Valkyrie is behind perfect cover. So the second stage of the boss, he moves to the right, stage right, I should say. And the third and final stage, he goes to stage left. The number of power generators, capacitors, whatever you want to call them, increase by 1 every stage. On the second stage, there's one above. You can see kind of 2 pipes leading to like an upper stage area. And then the second capacitor is kind of down below, immediately below that. So I actually kind of anticipate where, well, because I've played this boss fight a couple times and then restart right as I beat him just so I could get a good rundown and recorded, I anticipated with my character's movement like where the boss is actually going to end up. And also, you'll see here that I made a mistake in the order that I did my moves and used Peach's shotgun attack, because I did 60 damage to Mario. It's not huge, not the end of the world, but if he was, I think, 1 or 2 squares closer, it would have been significantly more damage, and, well, quite a pain in the ass. Phantom does not move. Unlike some of the other boss fights, where the Overwatch ability, the Hero Sight, or the Royal Gaze, or whatever it's called, Overwatch, the ability that triggers a weapon reaction shot when an enemy moves, that does not work against this boss fight. It didn't work against Rabbid Kong. It did work against the Ice Golem, and it will work against the final boss as well. So I realized after recording the final boss fight that I actually ended up using the exact same team for every boss fight except for this fight. And kind of reflecting on this boss fight after the fact and after beating the game and all that, I think that Rabbid Peach and Luigi is by far the strongest combo, the strongest team composition for bosses, at least, in this game. There are special modes, special challenges where it really benefits to have like Rabbid Mario, who has I think the highest movement range of any person in the game, and he also has the highest, or no, he also has his dash ability, which does area of effect damage, which is incredibly helpful for some of the challenges where you have to kill, like 10 enemies in 2 turns or something like that. But for the boss fights, the characters I'm using here, I don't think are the best. I managed to, like I said before, I got a perfect rating on this. I actually beat it in 8 turns, not 9 turns. And I think the strength of Rabbid Luigi and Luigi and Rabbid Peach is their range, because the bosses are so strong at close range, regardless of the boss, and because of and the combination of Mario's M Power, which is the weapon damage booster, with Luigi's Overwatch Steely Stare, the one that shoots enemies when they move. Man, that is like, Luigi does the most damage of any gun in the game, and you can, like, his Steely Stare, when fully upgraded, does 3 reaction shots, and then plus his sniper shot, that's 4 shots in 1 turn that you could theoretically pull off at the beginning of any battle, in addition to every time that the M Power and the Steely Stare recharge, which is, I mean, that is an insane amount of damage to put out. I mean, like, other characters have other strengths, but just that combo of M Power and Steely Stare is ridiculously powerful. Maybe not necessarily for the first boss and the third boss here, Phantom, that don't move, but it's still extremely effective for all the additional enemies that spawn, and just the insane range, and the fact that Rabbid Peach and Rabbid Luigi, God, I keep mixing up. Rabbid Peach and Luigi both have their RC car abilities that chase enemies over the entire map, and do a huge amount of area of effect damage. Not as much as the grenades, but the RC cars draw enemies Overwatch. So some of the enemies have their own Overwatch abilities that trigger and fire at moving enemies. So you can actually kind of cancel their Overwatch by with Luigi and Rabbid Peach's special abilities. So as you can see, we're on the second stage. I anticipated the light placements of the next 2 people, or of the next 2 power sources. I had Peach up top. I then used Rabbid Yoshi, sorry, to slide the power, bounce off Peach, and then land down below. Unfortunately, you can't land off of a team jump on the power sources, but he set up for the next turn to slide that power source so that we can start damaging the boss. The third stage of the boss, again, is going to be on stage left. It's going to have 3 power sources, and I think I actually managed to pull off sliding all 3 power sources in 1 turn, which, if you can pull that off, well, for the third stage of the boss, unlike the first and the second stage, the enemies that spawn are relatively weak, and your teammates should be strong enough by this point in time that hopefully you can just tank a couple attacks from the additional enemies, and just focus all of your fire on... Oh my god, I wonder if that lawnmower is coming through on the microphone. I certainly hope not. And focus fire completely on the boss for the third stage, because as soon as you take out the boss, you do not have to kill the additional enemies, and the match will be over. I also think, you know, back to who my favorite team members are, I think that Rabbid Peach's healing ability is better than Peach's healing ability. It is, and especially her defensive bubble ability is, it makes her a much tankier teammate to have than Peach. And right now, with this build right here, I don't really have much of a tanky teammate, just kind of absorb all the attacks. And because Peach technically can't heal herself unless she can do a team jump off of another teammate. So, like, in this situation here, she got kind of stranded and she needs to heal desperately. So I'm going to have to basically ruin Mario's position and move him away from where I know the next stage of the boss fight is going to be, just to get Peach healed. I'm going to have to move Mario kind of away from the stage to give Peach something to jump off of. And actually, I'm going to, I guess I'm going to chain Rabbid Luigi and Peach here. The grenade duck ability is very nice. The shotgun is nice for some of the kind of in-between missions and the challenges like I was talking about. When you have many additional enemies, you know, non-boss type enemies, that just make it so, like, the area of effect attack is so nice, but like you saw earlier, the friendly fire can really hurt you and really make it difficult to position your teammates, your chess pieces, I guess, around the board, because not only do you have to think about cover from the enemies, you have to think about cover from your own teammates, which literally makes it twice as hard to strategically position your teammates, your pieces around the board. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a pretty good overview of this boss fight. Thanks for checking out this video, and be sure to check out the rest of my boss guide videos and a couple other tips and tricks videos I have coming up. Game on.
Can't hurt me. My stage technique allows me to keep my composure under the spotlight. Can't hurt me now. Too much stage adrenaline. How's my nose look? I'm not blending into the backdrop, am I? Like precious rose, I bloom under one of the spotlight. Great. How dare you! My...